Okay, so the research is an autoethnographic study to understand Indian women's political space on internet and how that is impacted due to trolling. The researcher's personal journey on internet of her first finding the internet as an empowering space which gave her sense of identity and purpose, and later on from 2016 onward noticed that the same space become very hostile. That is the starting point of this research. The research motivations, objectives, questions all emerge from own lived experience. The research is a cathartic process of turning own trauma into a phenomena to be studied. It is also a process of building solidarity with other women who faced trolling. The research objectives is to fill the existing gap which were being noticed because also faced trolling, that both in academic research and public discourse people did not really understand the word trolling, although everybody was talking about it and it was getting normalized. So to fill that gap. Secondly, to build a case for spatial justice for women on internet, and to argue that safe access to internet is an integral part of women's political participation. Therefore, women should have, therefore safe internet and trolling, these should be on feminist agendas, feminist demands. The study is relevant because despite inherent weaknesses and certain pre-existing inequalities, like you need internet, you need connectivity device, this internet is still one of the most easily accessible and freely accessible platform for any woman to express their individual, their existential and political self. And if we do not study trolling, it would get more and more normalized as it is already being normalized. The main research question I already have mentioned, that how how trolling is impacting internet women's space. Also, who are the trolls, why are they doing it, how to tackle them, and also a hypothetical question was hypothesized that what is the political connection to trolling. The methodology is autoethnographic, keeping in mind some other features and ethics of mixed feminist research and digital ethnography. Two kinds of primary data were collected, qualitative and quantitative. The qualitative data is autoethnographic notes in the form of a Twitter diary, as well as personal interviews conducted with participants selected from a community of women using purposive sampling. The quantitative data is from online survey, a simple survey using the Google Forms. Thematic analysis has been done of these data. The themes have been derived from the autoethnographer's note. Thematic analysis have been done using reflexivity and relational perspective. Feminist research ethics have been kept in mind, as in researcher and participants are on same level. The thesis is a shared collective narrative, so although it is autoethnographic, it is not my story, it is our story. I don't know why my voice is echoing. Yeah. So the process is in this chronology. First, the autoethnographic notes, the basic set of questions that I answered myself. Based upon them, those were turned into broad themes for analysis. These became the tools of analysis. Based on those themes, the online survey was designed and collected. The data was collected. And the themes were also shared during the participants' interview for them to either agree, disagree, elaborate upon, reflect upon, etc. The qualitative data and the quantitative data from the online survey are correlated. They validate each other, but they are not dependent on each other. A co-created shared narrative this is the shared narrative. Some ground rules were kept in mind while doing the research as well as writing the thesis. First of all, the thesis chapterization is in a narrative style and not a thematic style like chapter 1 theoretical framework, chapter 2 literature review. It's not like that. It is done in a narrative style, like telling a story. Use of the terms internet, social media, social networking have been used as opposed to more academic jargons such as cyber, asynchronous, computer mediated. I deliberately kept it simple. the term also purposefully used trolling as opposed to cyber violence, gender-based online violence, or virtual violence, etc., so that the focus is not taken away from trolling itself, because when we use more loaded words, somehow the less loaded word gets normalized. The idea here, the strategy here, is to keep the discussion and deliberation on trolling itself, because trolling is not normal. It's not normal. That itself is problem. You don't have to add the word violence to the term trolling. So that is another. The thesis and the research has been done without any biases of any kind, including political, religious bias. However, it was difficult to avoid mentioning certain political parties' name, leaders, ideologies. No offense is intended in any such mentions. This includes the term troll, right-wing troll. These can be offensive terms. These can be derogatory terms. The researcher is highly mindful of that, and therefore all of these words are used in a referencing purposes for the sake of brevity, convenience, and do not intend to be any kind of harm at all, offense at all. The researcher also avoids broad generalizations about third world women, because I'm talking about Indian women, but I do not represent the entire Indian women. Highly aware that autoethnography of this kind cannot tell the whole truth about everybody. The researcher avoids making broad generalizations about cyber technologies or internet as a great equalizer or empowering tool for all women. The autoethnographer does not claim to be representative of any category of women. It only foregrounds individual women's experiences. Now, since I have less time, I can skip the chapter overviews and core arguments and directly come to conclusions and findings. However, if I have the permission, I will go ahead with can I go ahead with chapter overviews or skip them? Okay, so I'll just quickly skip them. So chapter 1 contains theoretical framework. The core argument here is that when we say political space, it does not only mean participation in government or electoral politics. It means just placing oneself in the public sphere. That will give political consciousness, feminist consciousness. Also, it disagrees with existing feminist criticism of Habermas, which says that the public sphere that he thought of was already pre-designed to be masculine. It disagrees with that. The argument is that the public sphere was a new space with unknown potential, and women used that space for their early feminist thoughts, but they were eventually later driven out of the space because the potential of the space to help women gain their specific humanity, liberate them from self-incurred. Okay, so again, a pattern has been seen across time and geography. Internet has been seen as a digital public sphere. Twitter has been theorized as the closest version of Habermas's public sphere. I'm skipping these slides. Twitter, every aspect of Twitter's structure and features have been examined to come to that conclusion that it is the closest version of Habermas's public sphere. Internet's impact on politics has been examined. Rise of radical right populism in global context, in Indian context. Indian rise of Hindutva, Hindu nationalism have been examined. All these terms have been defined in chapter 3. Chapter 4 looks at internet's impact on women and specifically looks at how women initially gained a lot of empowering space on internet, but the chapter also documents the early examples of trolling, locates those examples of trolling, how women begin to lose their space. So these are the key arguments. This is literature review. Again, I'm skipping. This talks about all the gaps I found from the literature review. I'm skipping this. I did a critique of the autoethnography as a research process itself and was mindful of several criticisms and concerns and addressed them in this chapter. Chapter 5 contains the major the data collected in this research. It provides the history of trolling, definition, and then shares the primary data as well as the analysis. As I said, 2 sets of data were there. This is the findings of the online survey. I'm skipping this and I'm coming to finding and conclusion. Please give me 10 more minutes on this. It is important to look at the quantitative data, which shows that almost 80 to 90% of women said that they are not losing their space on the internet. They said that the key answer question is answered in negative, that we are not losing that space, which seems like a very positive thing. We could be all happy that women are not losing that space. However, it is highly skewed. It is a weakness of the it shows both the thing that women who have left internet or Twitter could not be reached to make them available for this research. So the researcher has only been able to reach those braver ones who could strategize and fight with the situation and still hold on to that space. It shows that almost every woman has on this who have been part of this research have said that Twitter is a dangerous place. Trolling happens there, and if one joins it, one should be absolutely ready to face trolling. Also, anecdotal evidences, personal experiences come that women have deliberately silenced them, they self-censored due to trolling. Although they say that we have not lost the space, but a narrative analysis shows that they have actually lost the space. They cannot no longer freely use it. So, like I said, everybody acknowledges that they either are scared and want to quit, or they are fighting to hold on to their space and not quitting. Types of trolling, it has been found that the most severe form of trolling is not the date threat or the rape threats, which get a lot of attention in the public media, in the public discourse, civil society, policy formulations, but they are not the most common. The most common ones are the banal types, like laughing and mocking and general insult, calling a woman a stupid, ugly, anti-national, these things. Recreational nastiness and for the lulz. These are just recreational nastiness for the lulz. The least common types do not get all the attention, but the most common type of trolling, which every woman is facing, are not addressed properly at any forum, because there is no language to articulate them, to recognize them. They are normalized. For example, calling someone ugly or using a Photoshop image to give the message that you are too ugly to look at is not illegal either under criminal law or cyber law. It does not even violate any community guidelines. So there is no recourse available to this kind of trolling, but it does have a mental impact on the person who is facing it, women who is facing it. Reasons of trolling, I am going to skip it. Political and religious reasons. Feminism is another reason. Trolling this is an important finding, that trolling is a very isolating experience, and not even the most near and dear people can understand what we are going through. Journalist Sagarika Ghosh was a part of this research. She said that despite being such an influential person, having a lot of clout, social capital, her own husband is also in the same field of journalism, but nobody in her family could understand what she was going through when for the first time in 2010 she faced a barrage of trolling. Engaging with trolls has a sense of performativity, where we have to perform to appear to be better than the trolls. The trolls are seen as lower people, low lives, but we have to be better than them. So therefore we cannot retaliate in the same way or language, and this by default gives a power to the person who is abusing us. Also, the research finds that who is a troll? Is it an identity or is it a behavior? It shows that it's a behavior. Anybody can be a troll, including this autoethnographer as well as a lot of the participants who have been called troll by others who did not like their opinion. So this brings to the very important findings that criticism or even disrespectful disagreement or criticizing those who are in power is not trolling. Today, anybody, if you do not like somebody's opinion, you call them a troll. But trolling is a very organized, sinister, and largely politically motivated process. And even few angry expletives, few angry heat of the moment exchange of words is not trolling unless there is So dealing with trolls, another finding is that ignore the troll or don't feed the troll is the most common suggestion from everybody, but it's the least effective one, because there is a causal relation between post-truth and trolls. Trolls are not just doing this for the intended offense alone. There is a political angle. They are using the woman's platform to spread post-truth narratives. Therefore, even if you ignore them, they will not go away. They will continue to use the platform for their agendas. Therefore, it should be blocked. They should be blocked so that they no longer have the platform. Twitter's responsibility has been looked at, that Twitter doesn't really wants to balance the trolls' right to troll and our right to use the space in a safe way. No matter even how much they say that we want to stop trolling or hate speech, but it doesn't really work. Finally, this is the last slide. I want to say that this research can argue to have given 3 new theories or knowledge. First of all, trolling has been theorization by making a political connection. This has not been done before. Trolling has always been studied from psychology, behavioral studies, politeness studies, language studies, communication studies, but not from a gender and politics or political studies. So that has been done for the first time. It builds that connection. There is a distinction between trolling and political criticism of those who are in power, and just because you don't like somebody's criticism, you can't call them trolling. So that is another new theory that has been given for the first time, and a new theorization of Twitter, where after a lot of examination, it has been concluded that Twitter comes closest to the Habermasian public sphere, although it is acknowledged that the original Habermasian public sphere had inherent problems in it, which has been called out by subsequent critiques. Twitter, and there is no such utopian Habermasian concept at all ever possible. It did not exist in 17th century, it does not exist today, but Twitter it is already closest and has the potential to actually be that kind of a space that Habermas theorized. So that's it. That was there was some future scope of research that women who join Twitter and soon disappear, how we can reach them and how we can document their stories. That is a scope of research. Further, autoethnographic studies can be done by women from marginalized communities like Muslim women, Dalit women, to inquire what kind of trolling they are facing. So thank you. I'll stop the sharing now. The categories of public and private, the good thing about internet is that the line between public and private has been blurred. Feminism has always argued that the personal is political and we don't really need this strict demarcation. On internet is a hybrid space where I can be both public as well as private. My most private thoughts can be shared with the whole world by sitting from the comfort of my private space, which is the home. I don't have to directly face the people who is reading. So this is like a hybrid space, both personal and private. So I don't really think that this line difference is very important, but I can refer to Hannah Arendt, who actually theorized this differentiate. She says that the distinction between the two is that private is the material world of the material needs, of compulsions, of poverty, feed, hunger, etc., and the intellectual and political pursuits are the public world. And Arendt argues that only when we are free from the needs and the compulsions of earning money, putting food on the table, that we are or suffering violence, that we are able to address the public matters, which will then take us to a higher discourse, higher debates, etc. However, this has been criticized, and therefore it just can be concluded that there is no well-defined ideas of public and private, and this line don't really help feminism. So I will conclude at that. Should I answer? Should I respond? So the question is, can internet change those structural inequalities, or can we gain equality on the internet? Is that the question, if I understand correctly? Absolutely. That's absolutely a very relevant question. That is why I already was very conscious of all these limitations, that how much can you say with just, how can you claim that everything is going to be just, magically better if you just join internet? That just cannot be. But the thesis also refers to early cybercultural theorists, and it has been, literature review shows that there has always been two school of thoughts, the cyber pessimist and the cyber optimist. The cyber optimists have always thought that yes, if we can gain access to this space, if everybody could join the internet, the democracy would be better, governance would be better. Wagner Castell argues that all the structural inequalities that exist in the society, they seep into the internet, not because internet has any problem, it's not the problem of the digital technology, but because the people who are using it, they are bringing the real world inequalities. And the research acknowledges also in my thesis that yes, that is exactly what happened after. Initially, when we got the internet in 2005, I personally started using it 2005, 5 to 15. It has been seen that it was a very empowering space, and the Arab Revolution happened, people movement happened, 1 billion rising, feminist movements, Me Too movement. A lot of transnational, national movements benefited from internet. But then we saw that now the same capitalist forces, political forces are appropriating the technologies, the spaces, once again, who the marginalized voices, women, who had just barely started using this platform for their empowerment or even just expression, are suddenly feeling the competition now, because now the same Twitter and the same Facebook has gone into the profit making model. So initially it was just all about just sharing, now they are profit making models. So now we have to compete. Yes ma'am, in a way you are saying that the earlier initial enthusiasm for the public sphere, the Twitter or digital public sphere, has also to be looked at from a critical perspective. That is what I understand you are saying, which actually has been done. But since Habermas's public sphere was the theory within which I had to confine the study. There is a limited scope of, so I wanted to base this on Habermas's theory, and that is exactly what Habermas also did. If I may dare to say that Habermas also made the same mistake. He saw the earliest coffee houses of 17th century and the salons as this amazing utopian space which gave us, and then eventually he felt disappointed that it led to mass media and pop culture and for-profit media. Habermas actually repeats the same pattern that I have also mentioned, that he felt that here is this coffee house which is amazing, everybody can enter, it is totally free of social ranking and any kind of power dominance, it is free of the powers control of the monarch and the church. But the critics have shown, Brian Cohen has shown that it was never that space. It was never, so exactly what you are saying, that even the original public sphere of Habermas was never really that kind of a really free space. So inherent criticism is there, and the inherent criticism of Twitter is also there. However, ma'am, there is slightly different, because internet is a new space. Twitter was initially indeed slightly more free compared to a lot of other social networking platforms, and compared to what even the coffee houses was. So Brian Cohen shows that the coffee houses were not free because there was a system of licensing through which the monarch used to control the coffee houses or the discussions therein. Twitter, when the first time Twitter in 2006 it started, to 2006 to 2008-9, it was absolutely free of the government control. It was absolutely free of political control, because even the political parties had not joined at that time. Yes, absolutely. It's a question whether it should be absolutely free so that the Twitter owners control what happens there. Should there be more welfare mechanisms so that it's not just about survival of the fittest? These debates are going on, and my thesis do address to some extent as to what are the Twitter guidelines. How does Twitter take action against violence when women meet them? However, I did not go into the depth of the legal mechanisms or the government steps, policy mechanisms in this regard, because again the research had to be narrowed to the experiences that I was documenting. But there are some studies going on this, some conversations going on this, how we can make this space more equitable and more safe for everybody, like you said, and more everybody can have equal representation, and that they don't have to really fight here to survive. I believe those, and I believe this kind of research would maybe add that is correct. So it is enabling to the research participants, to the autoethnographer. It has been enabling. It has, and also literature review shows that it has been enabling to a lot of women in the last decade, in the last 10 or 15 years. But it, of course, it have to be more enabling, and we have to inquire those. And the idea is that studies such as this, as I said, that this is the perhaps the only study, first study, where lived experiences, live examples of trolling has been documented, at least in the Indian context. Emma Jane find out that while a lot of being said about internet, there is no specific examples of trolling that has been documented. So she suggested that this should be done. This study actually does that. So the hope is that maybe perhaps studies like this will do those interventions, will do those inquiry, will enable help in those kind of inquiries and interventions. So far as this research is concerned, it documented those individual experiences that was important to help us better understand what this space is about. The research also goes into the theories of what internet is all about, and how cyber culture theorists have, like Donna Haraway, Manuel Castells, have already approached these questions as: is internet inherently enabling place? Is it inherently masculine? Is it inherently carrying the existing structural inequalities, or is it just a open slate, a clean slate where we could do whatever we want to do? So these deliberations have been done by other theorists, which I mentioned in my thesis. So far as my thesis is concerned, the limited scope was to look at these individual women's experiences from an individual perspective and document those experiences and make these broad themes, which are, to be honest, very new. These themes of what really trolling is, how trolling is different from political criticism of those who are in power, that everybody, this researcher has herself been called a troll on the national media by a national television channel, and she had fought a legal battle for that. So here is it's a live example how that anybody and everybody is being trolled, is being called a troll, which is a derogatory term, while evading the violence that a lot of us are facing for simply speaking up against the powers that be. The idea was to document those experiences, and while internet has been theorized, or Twitter has been theorized as a Habermasian public space, the criticism of both the internet and the Habermasian space have also been factored in, and it has been acknowledged that I think yes, I acknowledge that the inherent criticism of both the internet as well as Twitter, as well as Habermas's own theory, has to be factored in, cannot be avoided. The structural inequalities exists in internet as well. So yeah, I hope I've been able to give some sort of answer to your kind questions, ma'am. Okay, thank you so much. Thank my entire faculty, everybody. Thank you so much.